Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work. All right, I got it. This week, first on the docket is Jesse, but Jesse, I think, is running behind on a deadline for an article, so he said he might be in later. So we're going to skip him and maybe circle back. So that means actually starting off tonight is Todd and then Flip. So Todd, it's yours.
Oh, hey guys. Sorry, let me just try to shut these people up real quick. Hey guys, hey, quiet. Okay, hey, sorry about that. Listen, it's this huge party out here. I just bought Twitter. I outbid Elon. We're celebrating, man. I was gonna read this story tonight, but as you can see, I'm a little busy. We're having a lot of fun out here. So instead of reading it, what I'm gonna do is do what any successful businessman would do and delegate the task to someone who makes a lot less money than I do. So what can I say about this guy? He is a veteran. He is an accomplished playwright. He is a gifted and brilliant monologist. He is the author of several books, including Sacred Misfits. He is a master of the ekphrasis. And best of all, he's my intern, so I don't gotta pay him. Without further ado, please welcome Blick.
Unmute. Oh, hi. I got kicked off. I just got on, so I missed your eulogy to me. Okay. Can you see this?
Hold it up a little higher. There we go.
Like that? Okay. All right. This is Elmo by Todd Matthews. No one signs up to be a Times Square Elmo. It's not anybody's lifelong dream, and for good reason. The suit is hot, the hours are long, and worst of all, you're forced into near constant interaction with the most god-awful soulless species of subhuman ever to grace the planet, the New York City tourist. Ugh. Fanny packs, cankles, sweat dripping, sunscreen, the whole 9 yards. It's disgusting. Some might even say humiliating. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. Putting on a suit each day is a struggle. Standing in Times Square, begging for tips, dancing for quarters like a monkey in some cheap circus. It's a tough life, I tell you. A tough, tough life. But you know what? I make it work. There are ways to make a living out of anything. Heck, if you do it right, you can even make a killing. Let me give you just one example. The other day, this woman comes up to me for a photo. Now, this woman, though I hesitate to even use that word, is one of the most repugnant creatures I've ever seen. 300 pounds of seething flesh and fat, bull dyke haircut, tie-dye Tweety bird tee, khaki shorts. Dear God, the shorts. I get the shivers just thinking about it. She's got these rolls of fat billowing out from beneath the shorts. Her calves and ankles are like fucking oceans. And these fat rolls, they're positively teeming with movement. Rolling over each other, blubbering up and down. It's like they got a mind of their own, throbbing here and there in all directions. The varicose veins alone could have formed their own society. There are thousands of them wiggling and jiggling through the fat like little snakes. The craziest part is I can actually feel this extraordinary specimen of sexless middle American mediocrity before I see her. The ground shakes noticeably with each of her footfalls. At first I think, gee, I don't remember there being earthquakes in the forecast. And then I see her coming around the corner of 41st and Broadway. The first thing I see, I think, is, oh God, it's one of those giant worms from the movie Tremors with Kevin Bacon. And I think, no, actually it's just an elephant. I got to do a triple take to even confirm that it's a human being. Finally, when she's just a few yards away, I notice she has a child. Oh, ho, ho, ho. This changes things. A child to an Elmo means one thing and one thing alone: payday. Now, this kid is the frailest, most sickly looking infant I've ever seen. He's as pale as a maggot and as skinny as an earthworm. He's sticking close to the bulging calves of his mother, obviously terrified they might get separated in the crowd. Of course, by doing this, he's exposing himself to a potentially even greater calamity, being crushed to death by the elephantine feet of Big Mama. The poor tyke's darting between her legs, racing back and forth like the Roadrunner from Looney Tunes. Every so often, one of the fat rolls whacks him in the back of the head and sends him sprawling. Then he's got to roll out of the way to avoid getting flattened. The mother notices none of it. She stares straight ahead as she marches along like a Civil War soldier. She's intent, driven. She's only got eyes for one thing, the gaggle of Elmos milling around in the halogen glow of the Cup Noodles billboard. This bitch wants a souvenir photo, goddammit, and she's going to get one. Now, by this point, many of the other Elmos have scattered and run for cover. And hey, who can blame them? The earthquake induced by the woman's approach is maxing out the Richter scale. People are falling to the ground left and right. Debris is flying off buildings. Me, I'm holding fast. I plant my feet firmly against the pavement, keep my furry head held high. This is how we do it, baby. This is how I roll. Look, there's a finesse to being an Elmo, a certain je ne sais quoi to the hustle. You've got to lure them in. You've got to entice them. They have to want you. They have to believe it's their choice. You don't want to be the cleanest Elmo of the bunch or the biggest or the closest to looking like the real Elmo. If you stand out too much, if you're too polished, too perfect, the other Elmos are going to get jealous. I've seen Elmos get beaten to a pulp for the mere crime of verisimilitude. At the same time, you don't want to be too ratty looking either. You've got to find the sweet spot in the middle. You've got to be better than all the other Elmos, but in a way that's not too conspicuous. What's the solution, you ask? Well, as with most things, the devil's in the details. Once a week, I soak my suit in a special blend of Fernanomes they put in McDonald's cheeseburgers. My buddy Tony is a delivery driver for Mickey D's. He gets me a whole case of this stuff. Costs me a mint to buy in quantity, but it's worth it for the dollars I rake in tips. I swear, one whiff of my Fernanome-drenched fur and it's all over for these breadbasket motherfuckers. I've also been a practitioner of a hypnotic technique known as the Great Lull. I was taught the Great Lull by my guru, Sri Nagwana Bahagandi, Ascended Master and founder of the Order of the Bloated Lotus. I lived on Sri Bahaganda's ashram outside of Hoboken for 3 years in my early 20s. After graduating from Bronx Community College with an associate's degree in business marketing and management, awarded cum laude, I might add, I had what you might call a crisis of faith. I didn't know what my purpose in life was. I'd been raised Catholic, but the rituals and ceremonies of the church had long since become hollow, meaningless gestures, shadow signals devoid of any transcendent meaning. I began working at a beef processing plant in Hackensack, New Jersey. Now there's a dirty job. The cows get motorized in on a giant conveyor belt hanging from their ankles, still gushing blood from the freshly cut gashes in their throats. Then a whole crew of us would start hacking away at the muscle and flesh with machetes until voila, a perfect stack of juicy steaks ready to be plopped on styrofoam trays, shrink wrapped and shipped to your nearest supermarket. Man, that was hard work. 14 hours a day I worked in an abattoir, 6 days a week. Made good money too. Good enough to afford rent on a 2-bedroom condo, wall-to-wall carpeting in Jersey City. Nice area too. And the building had all the amenities you could ask for. I was living the American dream, a walking, talking symbol of what could happen with hard work and perseverance. And the women, oh my God, the women. I couldn't keep them off me. I was batting bitches away left and right. It must have had something to do with how ripped I'd gotten working at the plant. Either that or the smell of blood turned them on. Who could say really? Who could unravel the inscrutable tangle of motives buried in the heart of the female sex? Certainly not me. Hey, I had my fun. I messed around. But mostly, I just lived for the grind. No woman ever gave me as much pleasure as I got from the sweet, sweet feeling of that weekly paycheck hitting my direct deposit. Woo-wee! Cha-ching! but something was off. I couldn't figure it out. Had everything I needed, everything I dreamed of, and more. There was something missing in my life, a hole in my heart. Some nights I'd lie awake on my circular novelty bachelor mattress, tossing and turning and wondering what was wrong. I wouldn't say I prayed necessarily, just asked questions silently in my head. Questions like, what am I here for? What is my purpose? And why am I on this stinking rock anyway? I never expected an answer, but nevertheless, one day, one came. My local bodega was owned by a gentleman named Mohammed Muhammad. Muhammad was the smoothest hustler I ever met. His bodega was beautiful. It sparkled. There was a crystal chandelier in the middle of the ceiling. That guy sold everything. He sold cigarettes at $5 below the state minimum. He sold synthetic marijuana, saliva, weird lab-created hallucinogens in little foil packets. His selection of bongs and glass pipes was the finest in the tri-state area, but so he claimed. I used to stop by Muhammad's bodega after work most days to pick up a 40-ounce of King Cobra and a Wise Owl flavored cigar. I know most people use those things to roll up grass, but me, I just like the flavored tobacco. Tutti Frutti, white raspberry, rum raisin. Man, those things are great. Anyway, one night while unpacking my purchases, I was surprised to find a small pamphlet tucked between a grape and clementine flavored cigar. The pamphlet advertised a place called the Ashram of Perpetual Engorgement. Do you lack purpose? Read the pamphlet. Do you hunger for higher knowledge? Join us at the Ashram of Perpetual Engorgement. Let your hunger lead you here. There were photographs of the ashram on the inside flaps of the pamphlet. Long-haired people in brightly colored robes stood before gazebos and little decorative ponds, holding roasted turkey legs, ice cream cones, and other delicious-looking foods. Most of the people did look pretty engorged. There was something else about them. They looked enlightened. They looked happy. Theirs was a thick, muscular type of bulk. They looked strong and spiritually radiant. On the back of the pamphlet was a photo of Surya Nahagwandi Bahagandhi. His beautiful dark eyes seemed to penetrate through to my very soul. He saw through the heart of me. He understood me. He called out to me. And reader, I answered the call.
Woo!
Nick, I know. I mean, isn't it obvious why Todd wanted you to read this one? Like,
I don't have a clue. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Because I love hearing you say Tutti Frutti.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. There's more than that. That was great.
So that's just part one, and the rest of the story is going to be in the Tax Day special of Apocalypse Confidential. And thank you very much, Blick. You did a beautiful job. Mwah.
The rest of the story is like it's like the Heart of Darkness. It's really, yeah. Elmo is like a front man. He's like a mafia front man, storefront man, and the real currency is being. Wait till you see where the real currency is counted in this piece. It's amazing. It's 6,000 words. It's over 6,000 words. Yeah.
You said Apocalypse Confidential. It's coming out in.
Yes, it will be. For they're doing a special for Tax Day, which is coming in a couple of days, I guess.
Oh, Monday, I think.
Yeah.
I think. So this was really, I mean, it may have been written for Tax Day, but this is also a really good Friday piece. This is like the passion of the Times Square Elmo. Like, there's Catholic guilt in here. There's like crisis of faith. There's fucking everything. It's the perfect piece to open the Good Friday Misery Loves Company with.
Oh yeah, there's even resurrection in there. He plummets to the depths. He goes into hell, and then he rises up through this sacred training. Holy shit! This is a really good Friday. You know, nobody gets cut. Nobody gets cut. Wonderful. That's great.
Now, Blake, you have a few pieces of your own that you want to read, right?
Well, I have three like little micro things.
Awesome. I've got the links. I'll put them in the chat.
Yeah, I need the links to look at them. All right, what's this first one? The first one is bullshit. Let me see. Okay. I see. All right. Well, this first one is it's a really cool, it's a really interesting, I don't know if you guys have contributed. It's called Bullshit. It's called Bullshit Lit Mag and Press. They're putting out an anthology, I guess. And so what they asked for was, they asked for people to just send things that they thought were bullshit, you know? So I sent her a couple of things that she published, but one was a short script for an Exquisite Corpse thing. But I just wanted to go down to the second one, which is called Rage in a Cage. And what this is I had to go through some papers recently, and I found back in the 80s, I had a few friends that had like proto-punk bands, and they were always doing CBGB gigs. I know CBGB sounds, you know, it's like, it's got this romanticized thing with the Ramones and Talking Heads and all this shit, everything. But basically anybody could play there. You know, you didn't need great skill or anything. The guy would book bands left and right. You know, and I never really romanticized it because the stench of the place. The bathroom there is legendary. I mean, and it smelled so bad and it wafted onto the floor. So I never really liked going there that much, except to support bands that they're friends of mine. So this one band, my friend, they wrote out a tune and they needed a lyric for it. So they asked me, I never did lyrics before. So they asked me to do it. So I wrote this thing and the guy did a great bass line, but I only found the first stanza because it was before computers and it wasn't typed. Written and it was all stained and ripped. So I only got the first stanza and the chorus. And so I figured that's bullshit. You know, that's bullshit. So I sent it to them. And so the name of the lyric is Rage in a Cage. So I'm just going to read this, the first stanza and the chorus. Rage in a cage. He did have a killer bass line. I wish I could imitate it, but I can't. You sit on your fat ass and watch me sweat while I spin on that wheel trying to forget. I'm just a shit-stained rodent, your captured pet, ready to bite your balls off because I'm a manly threat. I got rage in the cage because I'm no dancing fool. I got rage in the cage, so shove your ridicule. I got rage in the cage going round the circle jerk. I got rage in the cage for a white man don't work. All right. So that's my only two. That's Rage in the Cage. Let's see. Oh, Scoundrel. Let's see. Oh, Journal of Expressive Writing. Okay, let me see. Well, I thought I put it up here. It's not coming up.
The link wasn't working for me earlier. It was working for me earlier, but it's not coming up now. Maybe the site is down or something.
I just reset the link just in case. It's the Baby Boomerang one, right?
Yeah.
For me, if that says anything, which it may not.
Okay. Well, all right, that's enough. That's enough. I turned the rest of my little micros over to Rudy's epic. Rudy has an epic, so
no, sorry about that if they're having technical difficulties there. Rudy, did
I looked it up on the Wayback Machine and it's available there. I can post it in chat.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was gonna say it was working earlier for me, so.
That's why the must have literally just went down because when I grabbed the links like 2 minutes ago, that it was working. So.
Oh, it came up. Okay, I got it. Yeah, this one came up, right? Okay. Well, this is the Journal of Expressive Thought. I have a lot of artist friends of mine write to this. They ask you to do like 20-minute riffs on different. It's a sort of a social activist kind of thing. And so what I did was I'm working on this extended fracas with a young Louisiana artist who goes by the name of Naked Truth. And I say he's young because he's the same age as Jesus was when they nailed him. Today. He's 33. And so this isn't from my Aphractus with him, which is called Sleepwalk Symptoms, but this sort of is a flavor what drove me to sort of collaborate with this really this guy. He's like a genius. I met him last year in Seattle. We did an Exquisite Corpse audio, and he was the sound artist on it. So anyway, so so this baby boomerang is a skeleton of what I'm doing with the Zephyrus. A baby boomerang. My baby boomerang generation has been weaponized. My baby boomer generation has been weaponized into a baby boomerang that cuts down all who are different than we are. And what are we? We are old white male draft dodging, educated hedonists who live to get high, get laid, and make as much money as possible with the minimum amount of effort. America turned us angry and bitter because our legal pharmaceuticals now cost 10 times more than our illicit drugs did. And if we want to get laid today, we must pop legal blue pills that cost us a fortune and seriously fucks with our eyesight. We'd rather go blind and give up our stiff pricks that point us in the direction of our youth. But we are not colorblind. We are not on our soil, GOPQ, white is right, evangelical, plague rat Putin patriots. Okay? And that's my girlfriend's photo that I love. That's on there. Okay, and the let me see, and the final mini is let me see. Oh, Scoundrel Time. This is an activist site. This is it's a visual joke. It's an activist site. She wanted me, the editor, I love Scoundrel Time. She asked me to do something about climate change, but all I could think about was, old fat men don't like the heat. So I couldn't develop that into anything. So what I did, my girlfriend did a series called Selfie Fictions. So I went in there and I plucked out one of her photos. I gave it a title and then embedded a sentence in it. And the editor just seemed to love it, So it's probably one of the wittiest fucking wordplays since Oscar Wilde did The Importance of Being Earnest, or at least that's my line. That's what I'm doing, all right? So this is called, if you see the image, it's called Let Us All. And let us all in this age of climate change learn to use our heads to grow our own food. All right, so that's my contribution to social awareness of climate change. All right, so now I'm done.
Blick, I'm sure with those last three pieces, you've changed the world, right? I really dig these though, because these are fun. So often pieces that are, whether you want to call them activist pieces or polemical pieces, they're so like dreary and like, portentous. Like they're so full of like dread and terror and like, it's so rare that you get like a really good, just comic ideological piece, right? Even though like the history of like great like activist and polemical writer is mostly satire, like
satire, which I think is the highest form. I think satire is the highest form of literature. I really do.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of satire, and I think it's a shame that like so much of the modern like writing that's supposed to have like political meaning or that's supposed to serve as some kind of impetus to political action is often so just like dreadfully dull. So it's good to like see someone have like real fun with a polemical work,
Yeah, fun. Fun's a key word, right?
Thank you, Blick. And Jesus got worked in again. We're gonna see how much Good Friday we can get in here, huh?
I just want to say that this Good Friday, I quoted. I've been reading William's great manuscript that Gabe sent me. That's been passed around, and I'm going to pass around with somebody else. I'm done. And I had to do a quote, and it's actually, I went back. The title was Jesus Rises. Let me see. I got your manuscript right here. I read 3. I told him I have a ritual. I read 3 every night, like around 2 o'clock in the morning, and I always make notes. On it. So this is Jesus Rises from the Dead, right? So it was a beautiful quote.
I might be reading that later.
Oh my God! Oh shit! Really? Then I'm your John the Baptist. I paved the way. I paved the way for you on Twitter.
We'll see if there's time, but I do have a series of pieces that I like to read on Good Friday when we do this thing. And if there's
Oh,
time,
great. I
No.
love, you never read. Oh, that's so exciting. Let me shut up. And so we get through. I can't wait to hear it. Okay, thanks. Great.
so Dan's up next.
Hello. I just have a couple poems to read. They're short, so first is called Time Capsule. All books have butterflies between their pages, but only some know that the butterflies are breathing. This one's called Galatea. Galatea, hold your smile until the mob leaves. We left the lock on your case open. Did they drag you from the pit, letting the sculptors come so close, bearing smiles and chisels? We've seen how tightly that velvet rope is wrapped around you. A year of hammers cracking for beauty, bringing life to stone with pain, only leaving sweat and thumbprints pressed into your collarbone. So leave, we've left the back door open, but those dogs will hunt whatever dust is left, kicked up by your hard footsteps. Run, out there is a home where those weary eyes can wake at 7:30 in the morning to stretch your fingertips to the sun and chase the crows from your petunias. This one's called Model Airplane. You made me feel that infant frustration. You were a model airplane and your wings would not stay fastened. And the last one is dedicated to my great uncle who passed away yesterday. This is from a story he told me a very long time ago. This is called My Great Uncle is Telling a Story About the Hardness and Blood Our Family Tree Grew Out of. I listened to stories about our family, a cousin, a mean drunk, full of violence, drinking in a pub in some bumfuck fishing village. A dog, a normal dog, went sniffing at his foot. He kicked the dog, and then the dog bit his leg. What did this motherfucker do? He smashed his beer bottle on the table and opened up to the dog's throat. The other people at the bar didn't like that. Our cousin didn't care. He fought them off until every police officer within 100 miles was on top of him. He's not allowed back in that town. I heard the story secondhand from an uncle. Let me tell you something else. Our family doesn't walk under ladders. Let me tell you something else. They can feel the winning slot machines. Let me tell you something else. We shoo away crows and ravens, death birds. Go back far enough and you'll see plague masks and family photos. Go back far enough and you'll see a Bible on every bedside table. Go back far enough and you'll see the devil at the root of every family tree. That's it.
Holy shit, Dan. All of those were beautiful, but that last one hits like an absolute motherfucker. The slot machine line is like one of the greatest like lines in a piece of working class poetry that I think has been read here or anywhere. Like that so perfectly captures like just like the essence of being poor, right? The essence of being poor and like having like this like the fucking like spiritual essence of being poor and like anticipating like concocting some like magical power within yourself to try to beat poverty with like mind control, right? And the entirety of that poem though is like brutal and gorgeous, and I'm very sorry for your loss too. I don't know how close you were with your great uncle, but you know,
Yeah, we were pretty close. He's lived here on this island for a long time, and I've known him very well. He's a funny guy, and even though I ribbed him for being old person racist, I still was very fond of him.
Yeah, well, I'm very sorry for your loss, Dan, but that poem's a beautiful tribute, I think, to his memory. And
Yeah, I really like the cadence and the alliteration there. Like, let me tell you something else. That part was really awesome. Like, sorry for your loss, man. That sucks, but that was an excellent, as William said, tribute. I think to him. Makes me want to get to know him, you know.
So, thank you, Dan. Thank you for reading, and Colton is up next.
All right. I
Colton,
have,
you're back.
I know it's been
Hey.
I was curious if I was going to get Good Friday off, but I don't think, I don't know if a lot of people go to a bar on Good Friday or don't. I don't know what.
I could imagine it either way, right? I could imagine a lot of people who have a lot of reasons to drink on Good Friday.
True. Yeah. I mean, if you want to drink, you can make any excuse out of anything to go drink, like it's just the day, timing, whatever. All right. So I'm going to read two like autobiographical poems, sort of autobiographical. This first one, let's see, here it is. All right. The title of the first one is called You Dropped a Bomb on Me, Baby. Numb lip, tight grip, grinding the fate of branded sin between my teeth. The woman who works at the ramen shop is wearing black sheer tights under a lime green dress. She walks into my apartment and notices my metal floor trap. I accidentally grab the black protective mask of my glow-warm gas heater and burn my hand. I let go and bump into her. She slips forward and hits her face on my shoe rack. She yells, "You stupid bitch, that fucking hurt. Where's my coke? Where's my fucking cocaine, goddammit?" She runs into the bathroom. She's slobbering onto the toilet with her pursed guts spilled out onto the white oval cover. With a low voice, she says, my ex-boyfriend got shot 5 times in the chest about a year ago tomorrow, actually. And I forget if I told you or not, so that's why I'm having this little episode here. I'm sorry. I can't tell if she's fucking with me or not, but now she wants me to come cuddle her and read the first sentence of Lolita over and over again. I stop and tell her, "Did you know that an Italian lieutenant named Giulio Gavotti was the first person to drop an aerial bombardment from a plane during the Italo-Turkish War on November 1st, 1911? She looks at me confusingly. I continue. This moment was a turning point not only for geopolitical positioning, but also for military strategy and political philosophy. The bomb falling from the sky eradicates land-based strategy in favor of air supremacy. The goal now is to reconfigure and bomb the heart of a nation, to collect information, and to instill fear from the heavens, as soldiers and civilians are now equal targets for heavenly gunfire raining down from above." She replies, "What in the actual fuck are you talking about right now?" I look away embarrassed and decide I need a glass of wine. While I'm pouring, I accidentally drop the bottle onto my desk. The red waves wash the printed words off my papers, my books, and my old Rush 40th anniversary tickets. I ruin the memories of my family and I being collectively fucked up on edibles in Denver, happily listening to Neil Peart's exceptional drumming. I hear her laughing on the couch behind me. She tells me about the voices in her head. I turn around and look at her laughing up tears. She's hiccuping a lot while choking out these panicky explanations about how the voices won't stop. They're a constant ringing, even when she's on stage singing with her band. I get closer to her, and I can tell she really wants to kill herself. She wants me to buy a gun and shoot us both in the head at the same time. I say with my arms up, "But I've never shot a gun before." She hits me and throws her lip gloss at my neck for being stupid. I don't know what will make her happy. I look into her wet blue eyes again and she says, "You don't even know. You have no fucking clue how horrible everything is." After a minute, she finally finds the fur green skull baggie full of coke tucked into her wallet and she snorts it up with a grin on her face. She stops freaking out. She gives me a small bump placed on her health insurance card and I spill some on my pants. She yells, "You've got to be shitting my dick right now. Be careful with my drugs, you fucking neophyte asshole. Jesus Christ, fuck you." I can't stop laughing while I'm snorting a foggy drip down my throat. Lightning is shooting up my neck. My head is bound in saran wrap. She looks at me as I'm nervously picking my nose and says, "I'm sorry. I don't want to feel special. I just don't want to feel like I'm nothing. I need to get sober. I need to go back to school. I fucking hate this job." I accidentally make a sarcastic joke about her eating disorder as we're deciding if we want to go out to eat or stay on the couch, and that comment really pisses her off. I hate myself when I realize what I said. I take the empty bag of blow and put it in my mouth. I suck on the bag while I use the edge of my tongue to lick into the corners. My back molars scrape the plastic down to bits. She collects her things from the bathroom and walks out of my apartment and tells me to go fuck myself. All right. Now I'm gonna read my second poem, or short story. I don't fucking know what to call these things anymore. Sorry, I'm on this big Word doc, so I'm just going, here we go. All right. The name of this second one is called Mouth Agape. My best friend got suspended because he brought his lucky Third Reich 2 Reichsmarks 1937 Hindenburg coin to show and tell. Fuck, someone let in the honeybees. Little legs and rose petals flutter around the kitchen tree. The beekeeper's neck is full of lumps and cysts. He starts to pull out his lips and uses scissors to cut them off. The hands of a clock burn at a certain turn. Loose yellow straw crawls around the walls and loud cats yawn for warm milk while white dolphins and muddy crocodiles chew on veal served atop TV dinner tray tables. Nature-born faith is lost as finches and foxes tear each other apart in a floral air of infinite column walkways and yellow-lit flowers. Giant red towers break through ceiling tiles so the raccoons can climb up to sing and dance on the skyline. A powerful purple night drowns the world in solemn saturation, buzzing with small gnats. Blue loneliness and half-life madness throws lost minds into the brink of a lakeside shrink. When I was 15, I started sexting with a 16-year-old on Gmail, and then one day she stopped replying and I never heard from her again. Matchmaking Spartan soldiers mash triggers in a cloudy monkey temple full of satellites. Sunken heads in radish fields wonder why they're still alive while their pink bed sheets choke their empty husks with fingers clutching pillow edges. Giant mechas snore soundly in the black holes of brown caves and mossy dens. Electric birds fly under watery bodies to preach words that describe other words to ash-like spirits and ancient wheels made of dark stone. The flames of the tall silver pyramid burns trees and burns eager children and burns the master of masters and burns curious otters. Beavers damn all to hell while they damn themselves from the horror of crushed skulls. Dead space crystals fall down to earth and land somewhere nobody will ever look. Statistical sorrows and planned decimations are sown into life. The first time I got blackout drunk, I was 14 and I ran outside of my friend's house naked while their parents were at the front door just watching me throw up on myself. Beautiful magic is fake and nothing but the clown and the mime are left to perform the way people live and die under rainbows high up in the sky. Camera shutters blink and cry and it all suddenly clicks. Burnt up flesh and smoked out skin reanimate in a black walnut coffin as worms inch out of dirt-filled eye sockets that mimic rounding billiard pockets. Monsters drugged out on a silver screen platter being drawn feet first into the snake fires of cremation. Sin-red blood cells spill out from the force of a sword's cut. Shards of glass are shoved into open royal throats. Youthful animal planets are pushed through a meat grinder. Creation is ripped out of the womb by plastic hands. Sex is designed for hard plastic toys. Fantasy exists as a boat anchor line holding suicide and euphoria entwined. And now, pulsating tissue and broken bones, leaking veins and rotting lungs, pus-filled wounds and cracking wrists, twitching limbs and decaying skin cover every crevice of wretched beings. Socially afflicted sores speak in a dead language, suffering until it doesn't. Apocalypse mascots black out in the digital echoes of blackmail and bipolarity. Short, solemn breaths and lipstick dysphoria bash heads with neon brass knuckles. Gums bleed in the dirt for idle crimes. Isolated intimacies of blueberries and spoiled grapes fester in the cracks of cobblestone. When I was 8, my friend would steal his brother's Power Rangers and make them 69 in front of me. There you go. That's it.
Holy fucking shit, Colton. Those were both phenomenal. And it's so phenomenally different, but both absolutely fucking incredible. That first poem, though, I want to talk about that first poem because it is such a wild fucking high wire act and you pull it off so perfectly. Like tonally, it goes like boom, 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 boom. Like it's so tonally wild because it starts off and you're like, oh, okay, I know what kind of like romantic, like dating poem this is going to be. And it becomes that poem, and then it becomes 7 or 8 different poems before becoming that poem again at the end. And it's structurally, it's so phenomenal. Like you capture so many moods in that, like the Lolita line, especially like if you know what that line is, the fact that she would want you to quote that line to her over and over again is hilarious and also profoundly sick. Um, but that to the suicide thing, to like there's so much layered here, and it goes from like comic to really disturbing to comically disturbing. It's just, it is all over the fucking place. I have to talk about that first poem because I have to ask you, have you found a home for that first poem yet?
No. So this
Do you
this
think
poem,
you can sit on it until June?
I think I can hold on to it. It's part of a larger. So basically, this is part of a poetry essay, and so it's like one paragraph. So I started this back in like 2017. So initially just wrote an essay about like kind of like cultural theory, I guess, of like screens and smoothness and like Byung-Chul Han and some other sources. And then I was like, okay, I don't like this essay. What don't I like about it? And I just like ever since like high school, I've hated essay writing, but I started writing poems, and then I would do a paragraph of essay, poem, essay, poem, essay, poem, and I was like, oh, this kind of works. And so that poem is like part of this greater conversation in an essay, but I mean, also it stands on its own, so.
Yeah, no, it absolutely stands on its own, though, I think. And I love and I know that it's not that what you just described isn't super surprising to me, since we published a few of your pieces and a lot of them play with different forms of media, right? I think, or different, maybe media isn't the word, play with different genres, right? And because you have one that's sort of structured like a play, I know that we have, that is also not structured like a play. And so, no, it's fucking wild. These are great pieces. Thank you, Colton.
Thank you.
Alexandrine is next.
Sup, y'all?
Hey.
Yo.
Yeah. So, I am gonna read from. So, like, it's like officially out of the bag. Like this novel's coming out. So I'm gonna read some stuff from that. And hang on a second. Let me put do not disturb on because my Discord's going off. Somebody. Yeah. There we go. People are always talking to me. Yeah, so I don't think I've read from this before. I have a hard time remembering what I've read. I always think that I've read everything that I've read before. Yeah, never mind. I'm insane. So I will give a content warning. This is achingly sincere and a little bit less unhinged than some of my other stuff. So if you're if you have a problem with romance, don't turn away now. I shouldn't be making trigger warning jokes, man. This is gonna go on YouTube. All right, so this is from the end of the first part. The towel twists and squeaks in my teeth as I scream into it, curled on the floor of my bedroom, half naked. The screams go on, filling my ears, but not escaping out past my lips and into the surrounding air. My abdominal muscles seize up and cramp as I curl even harder. My mind is running through images as thoughts pound in on themselves, and I try to direct them elsewhere, but it won't work. They won't obey me, and they build. Why won't it stop? It'll stop if I can just wait a bit, it will stop. If I get pinned for the theft, I will go to prison. They will take me away in cuffs, and I will have a criminal record. I'll never work again. I'll be beaten and raped in prison. They won't care. No, that won't happen. They'll fine you and give you probation. You'll lose your job, and you can't go home. He won't let you in, and he will berate you and beat you, and he will make you sit there. While he lists your failings, you will mention everything you remember. My father lays his rifle across the bed, and he'll tell you it never happened, never happened, never did it, never happened, did none of it ever happen. I can't remember. Why can't I remember? You will never leave the city. You will die by the river. I need a cigarette. If I can get a cigarette, I will be fine. Where are my cigarettes? Unball your fists. Where are my cigarettes? No condition is permanent. All will be well. No condition is permanent. No condition is permanent. Please, I just need a moment. If you would please just. Days off are spent alone in my apartment. I was going to live with Henshaw, but that fell through when he broke up with his ex. Now I'm stuck in this storage center for young bachelors and the elderly. I watch endless reruns of How I Met Your Mother and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on Netflix because it kind of fools me into thinking I live with friends. I don't even bother brushing my teeth. I just put a pan of chicken nuggets and fries in the oven and take a shower, worried that I'll burn them if I get out, but not nearly enough to justify waiting. When I get out, the food hasn't even browned yet, so I light up and pop a Diet Coke and turn on Netflix while endlessly flipping through my Tumblr and, God damn it, and Facebook at alternate intervals. There's nothing new going on, just endless drama and talk about microaggressions, a couple new hashtags. So I load up documenting reality and I find a video of an Indian guy absentmindedly grabbing a live wire on top of a train. The screen lights up and there's an incredibly loud pop as the electricity runs through him in a massive pulse and he slumps over, probably dead. My phone rings, unknown number. Not thinking, I pick it up and put it on speaker. Hello, Mr. Adewale. I'm calling from Solutions International in regards to your account. Your total debt is now in the amount of $12,582, and if we cannot receive payment, we will be forced to take other measures. I hang it up and breathe deep for a moment. I pour myself some Evan Williams in a water glass and drop ice cubes in it. I go to the bathroom and crush an Adderall on the counter and snort it with a conveniently placed straw. When the food is done, I smother it in blue cheese and eat it with another Diet Coke. Then I smoke another cigarette and open another can, pouring it in a tall glass with more bourbon. I fire up Pornhub and flip through the categories: anal, big tits, ebony, Latina, bi. Then I start trying keywords: pegging, big ass Latina, ebony fishnets, cross-dresser, throat fucking. It isn't working for me, so I plug in my external hard drive and go through my copious picture collection. I find the folder marked Yaoi and open it. Yaoi in this context is basically just Japanese gay hentai or cartoon pornography. People spend a lot of time and effort on this stuff, crafting whole worlds and storylines for their characters to inhabit. Most of it is poorly drawn and not explicit, but through painstaking curation, I've acquired something like 1,500 single images of sufficient quality for my needs. The preference for hentai is a carryover from my earlier days of discovering my sexuality. I like androgyny, and the world of anime and manga allows for this in a way the real world, or at least the world of hyperconventional Abbottson, never will. I used to justify it by saying to myself that I couldn't tell the gender of the people in the drawing. We good? Okay. In the drawing, that it wasn't gay, that I'd just been tricked by a skillful artist. This was, of course, a lie that I still tell myself. Cross-dressing and anime are often gateways for American queers to express themselves in various ways, but they can also be used to obfuscate the truth from ourselves. My favorite picture is this one, an isolated panel from a series called Forbidden Housekeeper. It's delicately rendered and almost dreamy, where a masculine guy is pounding this boy in a maid costume, heels and garters and all. And he's drawn as a man, a young and feminine one, but still unmistakably a man. It's this really intimate and domestic scene, and you can see the bottom, uke in Japanese yaoi terms, is pretty well hung and his tongue is out, enjoying it. And the top, seme, has his eyes closed. The story is they're best friends who've known each other forever, and the maid turned out gay, but his friend would only date girls. The maid, he had this crush on the other boy for years, since high school. So one day he dressed up like this and seduced his friend who secretly wanted to fuck him, and that's how they got here. And they do this for a whole year. Other stuff happens. The maid dressing up like this until one day he couldn't take it anymore and they broke up, only to get back together later, and they lived happily ever after. And I hate myself for thinking like this, because part of me wants someone, let's say Kyle, to give me permission to be like this. It hurts to know that I'm one indiscretion for being disowned by my homophobic parents and best friends and never being able to fuck a woman again because people in this small town don't believe in bisexuality. Men can't be queer in Indiana. But when I live in New York, I'll be allowed to fuck anyone who will have me, man, woman, cis, trans. On some level, I know it doesn't matter to me, and it won't matter so much when I move. After I jack off and clean up with a slightly used paper towel, I realize I don't actually have anything to do. Dread sets over me at the gray expanse of void space before me, empty, crystal space-time clouded over. I get a text from a number I don't recognize. Hey dude, who is this? Wow, rude. It's Amory. Amory, the woman from the food court, the girl from the balcony when we had flowers in our hair. Oh, hey, how's it going? How'd you get my number? I've had your number. We went to college together. I'm bored. Entertain me. What now? I get off at 9. Meet me in the mall parking lot. Or don't. Somebody is pushy. What makes you think I want to meet you? I take a nap and wake up and jack off again. In the slightly sticky aftermath, it hits me how alone I am, how isolated, and panic rises that quickly gives way to low-grade depression and then nothing at all. I'm used to being alone, but it still bothers me. My mother, she still thinks I'm naturally a loner, but the truth is that I'm not. It's just that connecting with people is difficult. Amory messaged me again, because I think you're pretty cool and you probably think I am too, and we have nothing better to do, so come meet me. I'll bring you a soda. At first, I thought it was something wrong with me, but today, lying on the mattress on the floor of my bedroom alone and tired, I'm starting to get the first inkling that something is wrong with everyone else too, and that maybe in that sense, I'm not as alone as I thought. I chain smoke to suppress my thoughts and I'm running out of squares quick, but I don't want to spend money because it's the middle of the month. The mall closes at 9. By 9:15, the parking lot is empty. I sit on the trunk to stretch my legs and enjoy the summer weather, stretching through what feels like forever. The vast flatness ringed with anchor stores feels like forever in the hot night, especially in the stillness of quiet, low humidity air. I am only here out of curiosity as a way to alleviate my boredom. Kyle's motives for setting us up are vague at best, perhaps spite or emotional masochism. I don't know what he would gain from bringing us together. I can't imagine it feels good to have someone you once lusted after be with someone else. But then again, those feelings have cooled and they were never much of anything to start with. I turn away from the staff access door to stare at the asphalt past my feet. Maybe if I wasn't such a wimp, I would be waiting for Kyle instead. Hey, I leap off the trunk, startled by the tall woman with the ratty hair holding a skateboard under her arm and a large food court cup of soda. Amory laughs and hands me the cup. Boy, what are you so scared of? I take the cup from her. You, actually. She nods. That's for both of us. You still keep booze in your car? I open the trunk and suck down some of the cherry Coke. The bottle of Evan Williams is a quarter full. I pour the rest into the cup and swirl it around and take a hearty sip. Amory takes the cup from me and pulls on the straw hard. I sit back on the trunk. How do you know all this about me? I ask. Did Kyle tell you? She sits on the trunk next to me without asking and pulls out a baggie. She snorts 3 bumps of the white powder inside off a key and hands it to me. I do the same. Time travel. I took a giant dose of a blue liquid some alien gave me and wound up back here. I believe that. He gave me your number, said you were smitten. You probably don't realize this, but Kyle talks about you a lot. Recently, it's all been bad. Thank you for sharing that. Are you here on his behalf? I just wanted to meet you again, to find out what kind of person you'd become. And when I got this job and saw your mug through the store window, I thought it would be good to know the other mall folk. What are you anyway, ethnicity-wise? I groan and shake my head. It's an endlessly fielded and always unwelcome question that anyone vaguely ambiguous must deal with on a daily basis. Don't worry, she says. You tell me and I'll tell you. Half Nigerian, half white American mutt. Puerto Rican. Light as fuck, but I can still speak a little Spanish. My boss thought I was Puerto Rican. You don't look Puerto Rican. How can I look Puerto Rican? There's more than one color of Latinos in this world. She offers me a cigarette and I accept. I don't know, man. You just don't look like it. She laughs again. It's hoarse but warmly smooth. She's obviously been smoking for a while now. I'm not, so that makes sense. I'm not smitten, by the way. Back a minute ago, when you said I was smitten, I'm not. In fact, he's been saying you liked me. It's kind of shocking, really, considering what's between you two. There's nothing between us. He works for me. She smiles and turns her head toward me in a mocking way. You realize I don't judge, right? You and my buddy messing around doesn't bother me. I've slept with plenty of girls. You know, they thought I was gay or redacted. I always get that. I don't know why. She laughs. You don't see it. It's obvious to me. I'm not, you know. No, don't pull that and don't say it was just a phase or whatever. You can lie to the world, but you can't lie to me. It's uncomfortable to have someone address it right to my face. Sometimes it feels not like I'm leaving my body and watching myself and others, but that I'm living as a third party. It isn't because I'm depressed or bored, although I probably am, but I'm just curious because I don't understand why people spend time around each other. There are forces at play here no one understands, forces that render calculated action meaningless. To me, other people exist mostly as equations to be solved or else data to be quantified, items for my entertainment or tools for my success. I worry they are wet molds for me to press myself into. Emery hops on the skateboard and zooms away, not too quickly. It's quieter than I expect. Everything feels a little muted. I like her. She's easy to talk to, like I've known her for years. To me, it's like she has always been there and I couldn't see her until now. She slides by me, stops. If you're bored, you can go. It's clear that she's teasing. She kicks the ground, takes off again. Is Amory a real name? I call after her. She laughs again. The use of nicknames and mononyms is a symptom of boredom. It is unstimulating to endlessly perform the same characters over and over, and so we make new ones, or sometimes new ones are given to us as if we are on stage for an invisible and ever-present audience. She slides by me again. Why are you moving to New York? Hey, I say. She stops. I reach towards her and she lets me give her a kiss on the mouth. What's your favorite place in this city? I ask. She takes me to the largest bend in the river. The Ohio is the color of mud and the whole reason Abbottton even exists. Sometimes it's a bitter green and occasionally it's an indescribable murk, especially when it hasn't rained, but usually it's just the same dank, stagnant smelling chocolate milk. But now in the peace of the night, it is dark and still and vast. A coal barge floats by, blaring its horn. I won't be here long, she says. I will leave as soon as I can. There's no way to pay off the bills folding shirts at a PacSun. Agreed, I say. We sit on a bench on the promenade, passing the whiskey bottle back and forth. My pops, he won't forgive me for getting a liberal arts degree, but that's what it is. I don't think my father understands what liberal arts is. He seems to think I'll be a journalist or a lawyer at some indiscriminate point. She shakes her head. You'd be a terrible lawyer. You're a shitty liar. I'll take that as a compliment. Don't. The ability to lie, cheat, and steal is vital to survive when you're a downwardly mobile cake eater or a fucking retail manager. Kyle's the one that started calling me cake eater. At first I was offended, thinking it was homophobic, but he explained it to me. It meant that I was too good to eat bread like the rest of them, and instead I was fed cake as a baby. Actually, I hate sweets. I think Kyle is stealing from my store, I say without thinking. Then he's learned more than you have. You aren't worried that your best friend might be in serious trouble? I'm worried that his ex-boyfriend might be setting him up. We made out once. Don't make a big deal about it. And anyway, won't he be mad that you're hanging out with his ex-boyfriend? She smiles at me and leans in too close. Where do you want to go now? We could go to the park, or we could go back to my place. Well, either way, I'm not going to fuck you. Not right now, anyway. She comes even closer. Because you'll be gone soon. Actually, the fact you'll be gone might be your most attractive feature. There we go.
Oh my God. That was so fucking good. As usual, I have shit to say, but I want to say something that Rudy said in the chat because he said this shit better than I could. He says, Alexandrine is the best at enumerating tons of interlinked stuff and making it all world destroying. And I agree. Like that first section like perfectly captures the experience of having like a panic attack, right? And having all these monumental racing thoughts that are all like fundamentally interconnected, and you can see why they're flowing out of each other, but they're all catastrophizing, they're all disastrous, and you can't hold on to one long enough to stop yourself. And the entire like psychological like arc of this piece is so wonderful. Like the way it like opens with panic and it ends with this like legitimately like tender romantic moment is like, I don't know, it's so good. It's good because like it's hopeful, but it's hopeful in a way that we can actually afford to be hopeful, right? Like when we're in the midst of a moment of panic or despair, we can actually say, you know, well, we might have a tender moment with another human being someday at some point in the future, and maybe that's fucking worth it, right? Even if it's impermanent. And the arc of this piece is so like psychologically honest, and it fucking rocks. This is a good fucking piece, is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. It took me 7 fucking years to write this shit, so it better be good.
God damn. No, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And Adam's up next.
Okay, so I guess this will be the adult contemporary interlude.
Adam, first of all,
Yeah.
welcome back. We've missed you, man.
Yeah, just been busy with a 1-year-old baby, so haven't had a whole lot of time to mess around. So yeah, this will just kind of lower the temperature a little bit. So you know, it's like I said, adult contemporary. It's called The Bradleys. It was a good year when just after Thanksgiving, the Bradleys decorated their house with Christmas lights. It was a bad year when there were no lights by then. And it was the worst year when the lights went up but never came down. It wasn't just the Christmas lights lining the gutters, though. The evergreen wreath on the front door went brown and brittle from the summer heat. Red ribbon once wrapped around the white porch posts detached and wavered in the wind. The sun-bleached plastic nativity glowed at night, unholy but ghostly. And the Christmas tree inside the Bradleys' house, glimpsed through the dining room window, was a glittering skeleton hung with hollow Hallmark store ornaments. We soon noticed the mounds of displaced dirt in the Bradleys' backyard, which could only mean that holes had been dug. We counted the piles and thought there may have been a tragedy involving the family pets. We theorized that some holiday chocolate was left carelessly in the toe of a stocking, and the Bradleys' 3 Welsh corgis sniffed it out and poisoned themselves. But then 3 mounds of dirt became 7 and 12 and so on, until the Bradleys' entire backyard was one big pile of dirt. Mr. Bradley was searching for something, that much could be certain. The something he was searching for must not have been urgent enough to stop him from walking the corgis every morning. The something was not a distraction from taking a mug of coffee out to the mailbox on Sundays to retrieve the newspaper. But the something Mr. Bradley was searching for must have been somewhat momentous, because we never noticed Mr. or Mrs. Bradley leaving for work or bringing in groceries, because we never saw Mrs. Bradley deadheading petunias or filling the bird feeders in her sun hat, because Mr. Bradley stopped waving back at us when we drove by him as he sat on his porch amongst the twinkling lights in the middle of the day, a shovel across his lap, and because the school bus, which at first paused at the Bradley house with its stop arm extended, started to crawl past the house after a couple of days. And finally, after a week, the bus skipped the Bradleys' driveway altogether. There was no sign of 3rd grader Paul Bradley waddling off to school. It could have just been a mother-son vacation, but months leafed by without any sign of the rest of Mr. Bradley's family. Surely Paul's school would grow concerned. Maybe there was trouble with Paul. Maybe he was sick. Many of us assume that there may have been some sort of domestic dispute, and Mrs. Bradley took Paul away for a while. Perhaps they were staying at a relative's house until Mr. Bradley apologized for whatever he did. However, the only flare of temper we saw from Mr. Bradley was his cussing at his push mower that often failed to start. It could have been divorce, but none of us sensed that kind of trouble when we watched the family lounge on the lawn over their weathered privacy fence. But none of these theories explain the digging or the searching. Perhaps all the digging was due to some kind of pest infestation, and Mr. Bradley was using a highly toxic chemical to kill the pests, and it wasn't safe for Paul and Mrs. Bradley to be around. But that didn't explain why the corgis were left behind. And Stephen Davis, neighbor and exterminator by trade, said that no rat or termite or bed bug treatment would require such a prolonged absence from the house. A panic episode, an emotional tailspin, psychotic break, paranoid fit. These were the common theories entertained at the barbecues and birthday parties, but this wasn't a movie. This was our neighborhood. One day in early March, one of us had the courage to say good morning to Mr. Bradley as he walked his dogs. "I can't find them," Mr. Bradley said. "I'm sorry? I can't find them. My wife, Paul, they're gone," Mr. Bradley said. "They left? I don't know. They're not here." Mr. Bradley then bent down to pick up a pile of corgi leavings with a Ziploc bag, but only pretended to pick it up, put the bag back in his pocket, and went home. "I think he killed them," some of us said. "Should we call the police?" "Something's terribly wrong. I don't know. We don't want him to be suspicious of us. We have to be certain. Maybe they're missing. Why wouldn't he have called the police by now? What good is all the hole digging? Is he looking for something, or is he trying to hide evidence?" That summer, Mr. Bradley emptied the entire contents of his lawn shed and removed all of his tools and totes from his garage. He shook his head in what appeared to be bewilderment and mumbled obscenities while he searched. He opened the trunk of his car and looked under the spare tire compartment. You could see the beam of a flashlight scanning the attic through the dormer window at night. Dressers, couches, tables were left at the curb. Mr. Bradley emptied the house of all its furniture. Doors to interior rooms had been taken off their hinges and stacked against the poplar tree in the side yard. And by then the front yard, too, was muddy from hole digging. And we noticed that Mr. Bradley was now always coated from head to toe in a chalky powder, leaving a spectral cloud as he passed our houses while walking his dogs. his eyelashes caked with graying clods, ears and nose filled with the stuff. He must be taking the walls out too. He's covered in drywall dust, one of us realized. We still just watched Mr. Bradley search and dig. We anticipated him knocking on our doors to ask if he could take a look around in our homes and garages. And so in our fear, we began watching Mr. Bradley from behind our blinds instead of from our porches. We waited for him to walk his corgis and go inside before we ventured out. We started checking the peepholes of our front doors before opening them to the pizza delivery men. We made sure to check the locks at night. And we always kept an eye on each other's yards to be sure no unaccounted holes appeared. Our neighborly conversations occasionally veered into more speculation about what had happened to the Bradleys. But so much time had passed, and so it all became so normal that the subject soon lost its luster. After the initial strangeness, it just became a quirk. What began as fear dissolved into shrugs. Like Mrs. McGowan on Epler Street, all those cats, the lack of a front door to her house, the old hot water heater wedged in the branch of a tree in her backyard. It was just charming to us now. Then the leaves fell and covered the Bradleys' lawn and hid all of the mud. The last of the furniture was removed from the end of the Bradleys' driveway by the garbage men on the designated junk removal days. Daylight became scarcer and our lives got busier with our kids' school extracurriculars and our holiday season pre-planning. The day after Thanksgiving, Mr. Bradley restapled the red links of ribbon to the white porch railings to make them candy canes again. He replaced the dead wreath with a fake plastic evergreen one dotted with styrofoam holly berries. The sun-bleached nativity was removed, and in its place, Mr. Bradley installed a glowing inflatable snowman. The dead Christmas tree from last year was thrown out and burned, ornaments and all, in the Bradley family fire pit. And we saw Mr. Bradley, after we'd finished off our leftover turkey and pie, get on his ladder and replace a few bulbs in the strands of lights that lined the gutters. The Bradleys got a head start. I haven't even taken boxes down from the attic yet, we said. They must be especially jolly this year. Snow fell that night. We turned off the lights and lit candles to watch the flakes float and dust our neighborhood streets. We watched Mr. Bradley leave in his car. And after our kids were asleep, we watched him return, a Christmas tree tied to his car's roof. We squinted through the dark and the flurries of snow. It was really coming down now. Aren't there people inside his car? I can't see a thing. We blew out our candles to help adjust our eyes. I think there are. I think I can see a couple of people in the car with him. They must have come back. I knew they'd come home eventually. But all most of us could make out were the ice crystals reflecting in the twinkle of the Bradley's Christmas lights. We couldn't really see anything at all. And that's it.
Holy shit, that ending, I have fucking goosebumps. I was confident I knew where this story was going, and it was not in any way, shape, or form going where I thought it was going. This is a really, really smartly constructed story because it's very subtle, it's very gentle, it's incredibly menacing. And instead of building towards, I think, what the reader expects, which is like a moment of real like terror, it builds towards like a moment of like spiritual mystery, like a moment of like existential hope, which is not at all what I anticipated. And it's so good. It's so good. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words a little bit, Adam, but I am in love with this story. Thank you so much. Oh, and congratulations on the relatively new baby.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
Also, to Blick says wow in the chat, Rudy says damn, and Tyler says fuck. So I think that sums up the response pretty well, Adam. Thank you so much. Eris is next. And Eris, the notes say you have a song. You didn't contact me, you contacted Rudy, so all I have is the notes to go by. And the note says, Eris wants to read a song she wrote. So here we go. Eris is still here. Are you still with us, Eris?
Yeah, I'm just I
Here.
have it on my NeoCity, so I'm like uh, HIJK. Okay. Okay, can someone else screen share so I don't have to? I'm afraid. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I can screen share if you link me to it.
Okay, don't worry, I don't sing it. I also said that.
Okay, I'm gonna click that link here. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna screen share now. Is that okay?
Thank you so much.
Cool, cool. Tell me when you're ready.
or is he? Rudy, I think you need to share the audio too. I don't think we're hearing any audio, Rudy, unless it's just me.
Rudy, you're muted.
Oh, just a second. I guess I got to screen share specifically the audio for this one. Hold on.
Oh, see, this is.
Sorry.
I know I gave you the responsibility, so thank you.
Rip. All right, I'm gonna screen share again. I usually have it on, but the thing clicked it off, so my bad. Here we go.
You live in the past. You look back, you don't see what's in front of you. I see what's in front of me. That's where I look back. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna waste my time. Pardon, Mr. Lund. Why do people do that?
Do the best you can with the information you got.
Hurt feelings, envy, worry, jealousy, even depression. You're tired of those things. If you're miserable, if you are worrying or fearful or angry or hurt, lonely, any of those emotions that you're actually choosing to be that way, that other people or circumstances are not making you that way, although we tend to blame other people and things, they have nothing to do with it. We're choosing it because we actually have to assume full responsibility for where we are. Am I expecting something in this world to fulfill me? The higher your level of anger, the more you're going to feel like a victim. The more you feel like a victim, the lower your self-esteem is.
so much insecurity about what has to be practical. Who knows what tomorrow's going to bring?
Forget about the past, think about the future. I said that I hoped your new life would be a happy one.
We have to, because we can't bear the knowledge that the future's going to be no different from the present or the past. We can't stand any more pain, knowing that every day will be the same as every other.
Eris, that rock. You composed that? You like mixed that
Holy
yourself?
shit.
I don't.
Yeah,
don't-
like I the other day or a few months ago, whatever, I mixed some of the Jonestown tape over Joy Division. And
Fuck
so ever
yeah.
since then I've been like experimenting with stuff like that. Thanks.
Oh my god.
Holy shit, that was amazing.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
We need to hear that
that's
one
amazing.
too, I think.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh my God.
I don't know
Wow, that-
anything about music composition at all, but I know that like that rocks. That's all I can say, you know?
Yeah, that. Have you ever heard Avalanche? From they're like early 2000s, I think. Frontier Psychiatrist was their single, I think.
Oh my
Ooh.
god. I thought about them in decades.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. That was fucking amazing.
Is that the Jonestown guy talking about the victim mentality?
He's like, I will never lie to you. I just got a Henry Rollins. This is like, just this. Talking's hard. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
We need to put together a whole album of Jonestown sample tracks
Yeah.
dedicated to the memory of the great Jim Jones.
No. Dedicated to all the people that died. Those poor people. But
that.
Yeah.
Either way.
I'd like to see a
Okay.
Waco crossover with Koresh singing in some of his songs.
yes.
Oh my god, Rudy.
Shoshana or some of his yeah. Either way.
That's a really great idea. Rudy, you and Eris should work together on that one. I would
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
would love to hear that.
I'm just trying to eventually get Rudy to make the Billy Corgan game.
Oh no.
That's my long con. Or long I don't know.
Eventually.
Anyway, Daphne says cult hits. That would be a great album name.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much. And actually, Rudy, you're next. And I think it's only 9:45, so I think there should be plenty of time for you to do your longer piece.
Actually, if you want to go next, that's fine. I might read it another time, I think.
Oh, okay. You had
It's
another short piece you said you might want to read. You want to read that one instead?
Oh no, you can just go ahead. I'll just
Okay, in that
I'll read it
case,
another time.
need to refill my water and I'll be right back.
Roger. It's really super long, and I have an audio piece. I wanted to mess with the audio a little more on it, just to get it a little better, because it kind of has an audio component to it.
Okay, so I guess it's me then, unless does anyone else want to read quickly? You know what? If you do, just say something in the chat during my reading, and I will. Don't send me a direct message. If you're going to send someone a direct message while I'm reading, send Rudy one because I won't see it if you do. But we will have time for a couple of open mic people.
Looks like Grape has her hand up.
Oh, okay, great. Why don't you read your piece and then I'll do mine. And if anyone else wants to read, they can just put it in the chat.
Awesome. Okay, let me just find it on my desktop very quickly. Okay. So, the girl is beautiful, the girl is ugly. She has no kids, she has a kid. She's neither ugly nor beautiful, but great looking. She works, she doesn't work. They're sexy, they're far, they're close, they're young, they're not that young. Their teeth are perfect, their smile generous, their affection tender, their company pleasant, so young, so open. Responsive females here to reply, always willing. They love me very much, not. And then I have one more. It's too soon. I had the strongest want for, haha, never mind. I had no want for anything. I have the strongest want for a lifestyle free of sugar. You simply cannot imagine it. I feel sleep at Battery Park. I feel asleep at Battery Park. My eyes are damp and cloudy. I walk, but others complain. I feel asleep at Battery Park. My eyes are map and cloudy. I walk with both eyes closed and everyone complains. I feel asleep at Battery Park and my eyes are cloudy and soggy. I walk with no gait. I saunter lightly, both feet on the sky, all hairs on the ground. I walk with eyes closed at Battery Park. The grass is green and my heart a harp.
Usted no tendrá el vaso donde yo le preparo la avena a su papá, ese es.
Yo lo tengo.
Pero lo necesito.
Yo se lo doy. And then I have one more.
Le va a traer otro vaso.
Okay. I wrote at least 88 poems before I shared my first one. I read at least 239 poems before I wrote my first one. I sprayed Lysol into my face. It was my makeup routine. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you at the end there. I wasn't sure if you were done. But as usual, Graves, you do so much with so little, right? And the repetition in the Battery Park poem is so powerful and so effective. And the I walk with no gait line is like, that's just a perfect fucking line, right? Because like on the surface, it's impossible. You can't walk without walking, right? But anyone who's ever been like completely depressed and lost within themselves knows exactly what you mean when you say that. That sense of like not even feeling like you embody anything and just like wandering aimlessly through a space. And that poem captures that sensation, I think, like perfectly. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
The line or the last poem you read with the it's like about writing poetry. The I wrote that one is so good because I love the like the mashing the keyboard backwards backspace feels that gives me about writing. I like that. That's really good. Like everything
Thank
is
you.
like, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's part of a collection I haven't released. I've had it on hold for several years now.
Cool.
Okay, so Rudy, you don't want to read your piece?
No, I'm not gonna do mine. I think Colton said he wants to read another piece.
Oh, Colton, you have another piece?
Yeah, I have. How many pieces am I allowed to read right now? Just one or?
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I think I'll just do two.
Take your swing.
Take my swing. See, I'll start out with this poem. It's a lighter one. It's not too fucked up. Also, I wanted to correct myself earlier. What was it? The poem of the Lolita reading? That poem, You Dropped a Bomb on Me, Baby. That one is a part of just a poetry collection. It was the other one, Mouth Agape. That one's part of the poetry essay thing. But okay, this poem is called, or it's more of a story really. It's called Warping. It's late again, and I'm out at the bar talking with grad students about how people use the bottom of Parliament cigarette filters to scoop up bumps of cocaine, which is a really genius idea. So I decided to stay up buzzing from God knows what, and after I leave the bar, it's already 3 a.m. exactly. And I know that because from my apartment, I can hear the front loader garbage truck down the street emptying out blue industrial-sized community dumpsters. It's just loud stainless steel smacking against metallic moving parts. But I'm in bed in a weird mood, smoking a joint, trying to read Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie. And of course, I hear my cat making a noise in the kitchen. And I mean, it's gotten to the point where I actually have to do something about it. So I finish my joint, find a stopping place in the play, light a cigarette, put the book down, put some socks on, and then start walking over to see what's happening. After turning on the light from my cell phone to illuminate the situation, I see my cat has spotted a cockroach that has somehow crawled into the bottom of a glass bowl that is in a cabinet below my kitchen sink. My cat opened the cabinet all on her own, by the way. And the noises I was hearing were a combination of my cat's teeth and claws scratching against the glass and her tail wagging against plastic bags and cleaning spray bottles. She's made a big mess, but it looks like the cockroach is now stuck and flailing about. His tiny whiskers are searching for a rough, non-glossy surface. It's a simple and demented scene, really. So I take the bowl out of the cabinet and set it on the ground. I watch my cat play with the cockroach running around the bowl for a second. It's trying really hard to escape my cat's paws, but my cat reaches in with her head and grabs the cockroach with her teeth, and she drops it after one bite. The cockroach loses a few legs, but the little fucker starts to run, so I have no other choice but to pick up the glass bowl and flip it upside down and put it on top of the bastard so that he won't get away. Now the cockroach is inside the glass dome, running into the sides, wondering when it will die. I have to think about how this has to go down. My cat has no words of encouragement. She is just sniffing the smoke around my face. So I finally decide to lift the dome up so my cat can have a few more bites before I use the edge of the bowl to dismember the cockroach's hard head from its tiny body. The smoke is careening into my eyes. The small crunch releases the cockroach's wretched soul from his tough, crusty shell, and now his body and head, along with the ash and coke-dusted filter from my Parliament cigarette, will join each other in the bag of trash in my kitchen that will be thrown into a dumpster behind my apartment, which will then be collected by a garbage truck 2 days from now and finally transported, squished, and compacted in a dirt pit or a junkyard, forgotten forever. So I put the bowl away. I walk back into my bedroom. My cat jumps into bed. I turn off my bedside lamp. I light another cigarette, and I let the sound of my cat snoring slowly drift me away to sleep. There's that poem, and then I'll do, well, I feel like cocaine is like the theme for my poems today. So I'll do this poem. It's called Street Bottle. And fun fact, this poem, Street Bottle, is a true story. It's actually happened to me. Slim pointed fire embers rush through my lungs and nose. A man walks by asking, "You got another one of those?" I say yeah and give the man a smoke from my pack, thinking nothing of it, no sweat off my back. But the grateful man repays me, saying with a grin, "Check it, I snuck this over 4 states, sly as sin. It's just hot water and cocaine in a nasal congestion bottle. Are your eyes hazel? Never mind. Here, push this into your nose and make sure it doesn't leak onto your clothes." So I drop my cigarette to the pavement and I sniff up loose, milky entertainment. Huff and puff, crinkle and snort, sniffle and suck. The solution slaps my throat. This is good shit. Fuck. My eyes are flickering through street lights. The stars are gone, clouded beyond sight. That Tylenol taste and the numb lips and sensation will always be my favorite kind of bodily stimulation. And now I am dead once more as night strips life to its gritty core, where fingers shiver in the fog of a ghostly summer night, and faraway planets aligned by spirit. Ripples in time fight and come together. Nothing can decide what is right. The wanting of these moments will never make living all right. Come here and look into my eyes, empty, lost, wide, and white. There you go.
Those were fucking great, Colton. One thing I loved was that your cat was participating in the first story. As soon as you started to read it, he or she jumped up on the little stool behind you and was performing like she was the background act. She's gone now.
Was she? That's so funny. Oh, that's right. It's like perfect. My two cats have been fucking fighting all night. They're just like having these little scratch battles. So I'm that's funny that she or he made an appearance. That's funny.
Yeah. No, it was great. And that's a great piece. I love that piece. As someone who has a cat who is too smart for his own good and figures out how to operate doorknobs and shit. Like that sense of hearing something in the middle of the night and then walking in on a scene like that.
Yeah.
Is very familiar to me. And the way it plays out though, like the amount of like, maybe this is the wrong word, but humanity that you lend the cockroach, and then the long unpacking of the cockroach's burial, the process that the cockroach makes, like its procession to its tomb is just so good. So good, Colton. Thank you so much. Those were fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that one was also real. I just woke up in the middle of the night, which I do so many times, and I'm like, oh, my cat's doing something, and so I give it 5 minutes. Then if I hear a loud noise, I'm like, all right, fuck me, I gotta go check this out, or my cat's gonna die. It's gonna be my fault. But I don't know. I just love the mundane, just like the simple. Like I'm in a bed reading a book, my cat makes a noise, I go, I stop it, and then I come back. But it just I mean, every night, 3 a.m., I stay up and I hear this fucking trash come, the big dumpster unloader, and it's just so significant to me because like I don't like none of my friends know that it's at 3 a.m. because they're not staying up with me. They have normal 9 to 5 gigs, but not to say that they don't have insomnia and stay up thinking about wanting to kill themselves. And that's
right. That's
not just me. It's a lot of people. But yeah.
No,
I appreciate any writing about cocaine. I'm sorry for. I need to make like a montage of every time I interrupt William.
Thank you. I've been feeling really self-conscious about writing about drugs because it's not like
why? That's funny.
It's like I don't want to be the fucking drugs are cool, but like drugs are fucking cool, and I'm sorry, and I want to do them before they make me anxious or like have a heart attack. I'm just
or stab someone. That could happen.
Oh fuck, God, it's been close. It's been real close. Thank you, Eris.
Yeah, thank you, Eris. Thank you, Colton. So,
Thank you.
Rudy, nobody else has indicated that they want to read, right?
Not that I've seen. Nope.
Okay, so I guess we'll close with a piece of mine. So, as I mentioned, oh wait, holy shit, wait, in Under the Wire, Keith has a piece. He just sent me a DM.
Well, it matches with the theme of addiction. It's the next. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you,
Perfectly.
Keith.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's the next short. Well, it's a few minutes of the next piece of my big story. If you'd like me to read it. Okay. So it's another part of the story, living and dying in the now and then, the surreal life of an aspiring writer. The last piece I read ended with the stories about the narrator's first experience with his pillow in the bathroom, and then a few years later, his roommate, John Henry, promising to take him out to the 40 Watt Club to teach him some lessons about scoring with the girls. But tonight's reading goes in a little bit different direction. At this point in the big story, it'll likely come as no surprise that our narrator may have some deep-rooted personal issues, but he's working on things. So with that, here's tonight's piece, and I'll end it with a fragment of the lead-in to the next part of the big story. This is how it starts. You promise to keep yourself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. And then the next thing you know, you're camping out in the woods with your friends and you're living life and you're having fun. And then everyone takes their first chew of beech nut chewing tobacco. He says it's only going to be when he's camping with his friends. And then the camping trips with friends become almost every weekend because everyone's dying to get away from their families. And they're all so trustworthy that adults rarely even check on them. And what began as one or two chews leads to more and more on those camping trips. Then jumping ahead a year or so, he takes up an outdoor sport. And the next thing he knows is that he's chewing while he's playing his sport. And now he switched to Redman because everyone's switching. And before he knows it, he's chewing every time he's playing his sport or out camping. Then it becomes every time that he's outside, with or without his friends, playing or not playing, camping or not camping. And then a few years later, he discovers that really cool downtown newsstand tobacco shop in Big College City. He buys his first can of Skoal for 29 cents. And that really kicks the nicotine hit up a notch. Now, almost all of his new friends are dipping Skoal, so he flips from Redman to Skoal. On a few occasions, he even tries plug tobacco for variety, but it doesn't have as good a hit, so he sticks with Skoal. And once, but only once, he tried sniffing dried snuff. Then the next thing you know, his outdoor nicotine hits aren't enough. So he moves his dipping into his classrooms because everyone in tree school has a spit cup on their desk, unless they are the ones that smoke cigarettes or a pipe. And before you know it, his addiction moves into his dorm room. Flash forward a couple of years and he's starting his first big job after college. And now he's got a brass spittoon on the seat of his truck next to his bottle of Maalox. And so now he's using when he's indoors and outdoors and in his truck. Now he's either dipping or occasionally chewing virtually every waking hour of the day from the time he gets up until he goes to bed. And the only time he's not getting his hits is when he's hiding it from his dates or weekend girlfriends. And then at first, he's hiding it from his real love of his life. And he realizes that his real love of his life, he knows that he must be honest, and he confesses. And he loves her and she loves him. And although she acted surprised, he knows that she suspected that he had a problem. And she doesn't condone it, but she doesn't dump him. And that was when he absolutely knew that she was the one. So then he begins to try to not use any time when he's around her. And then after their wedding, he is still trying to manage his chewing and dipping for the first year and then the second year. And he's doing a good job when he's around his wife, but he's a lot of hours when he's working and not around her. And he makes up for lost time. When his first son is born in the third year of his marriage, he quits cold turkey because there are no medical options for quitting. And it is so hard and the cravings are so intense and he eats sweets all the time and he has to have the nicotine. And then he starts back with just one dip in the morning. And within a week, he's back to where he was when he quit. And then he quits and starts and quits and starts and quits and starts. And it's so predictable every time. Then 15 months after his first son was born, he fertilized the garden. And ironically, that day was around Father's Day. And once again, just like with his first son, the garden started growing. And he suspected with his first son that his fertilizer was pretty good. And this was verified with his quick second success. And he felt really lucky about a few stupid times in his life that he took chances with his fertilizer in the gardens. And he is such an impassioned idiot, but that's not this story. So about 5 weeks after his wife got pregnant, she had some serious pregnancy issues, and she was very scared, and he was terrified. And he looked at his 16-month-old son, he looked at his wife, and he knew it was going to be an 8-month scary ride, but he decided then and there that he had to go cold turkey again and quit tobacco. And he was quitting this time no matter what. Even though this was at the beginning of one of the most stressful times of his life, And 8 months after the complications, their second son was born healthy and his wife was healthy. And since he had gone cold turkey and quit tobacco those 8 months before, he had not had a single chew or dip, even though he still had nicotine cravings every now and then. And he had gained a little weight and he still craved sweets, but he believed that he had overcome his nicotine addiction and was going to be a better husband for his wife and a better father for his sons. And then about 6 months after his second son was born, he realized that he couldn't stand to even smell the tobacco or get too close around friends when they were using. And to this day, he hasn't looked back and doesn't even think about it or miss it. And he had long known about his hidden demon and propensity towards addictive behaviors. But tobacco wasn't his only concern, and he thinks that he may not be able to hide that anymore in his stories. And then a few years later, the absolute final nail in the nicotine coffin came when his daddy got sick and died from mouth cancer. And he was so thankful that he had overcome his addiction. To this day, he is still so very thankful, but it was not an easy dragon to slay. And he wonders why it took that big scare and complicated pregnancy for him to finally see that the dragon had to be killed. And he thinks that it was because he finally came to the realization that what others needed from him was way more important than what he needed from a can of Skull. And that's how it ends. Footnote to self. For a new writer, some of these stories seem overly difficult to write, and I wonder if I really understand the definition of autobiographical fiction. I think that I'm beginning to understand why Franz Kafka burned a large portion of his writings, and then when his health was failing, he asked his friend to not read any of his unfinished works and to destroy them. Should I start thinking about which friend I trust the most and set the wheels in motion? I'm not sure, but the answer's easy. It will be my friend, my doctor, who back in the days when we met was a paramedic. When he went outside to add some sunflower seeds to his bird feeder, the morning air reminded him of that chilly spring day that he wrote about earlier. And he remembers that the pharmacy was across the street from the hospital. And it was close enough to the school that the senior and junior guys could leave campus at lunch and go eat a hot dog and chips at the fountain and get back before the next bell. And back in those days, the pharmacy only had a couple of aisles of assorted everyday necessities. And the pharmacy was where the senior and junior guys bought what they needed, and they would get it from the second aisle. And sometimes after school and under duress, the freshman and sophomore guys would walk to the pharmacy and eat a hot dog and chips at the fountain, and then they would go to the second aisle and buy what they had been told to buy. And then he remembers ahead a few years and the reflections in those black icy waters and how he hadn't been invited to the rehearsal and his friends had been invited. And though the invitations had been extended by their enemies, his friends still accepted the invite. And later he would figure out why he had not been invited to the rehearsal. And when he reflects on what he said in his earlier story about that chilly spring day and about his reminder coming, he realizes that there's another reminder within his reminder. And he thinks about the two reminders, and he doesn't want to confuse things in this story because that second reminder doesn't directly apply to what he is writing about on that chilly spring day and in this story that he just wrote. So he'll just end now, and he knows that this story is fragmented in his mind and on the pages, and it may be confusing, but one day this will all make sense in his head, and he will arrange all the words in the right order on the page at the right time, and the confusion will be settled for himself and everyone else. In the early morning hours of the day of his promised second public reading of the next part of his big story, he awoke and looked at his phone, and it was 2 a.m. And he remembered the dream, and he knew that another bout of the madness was in progress. And he tried to go back to sleep, and he isn't sure if he did, but when he next looked at his phone, it was 4 a.m. And his wife was sleeping soundly, and he didn't know how long the dreamlike madness and restlessness would continue. So, and that's the end of my reading for tonight.
Keith, while you were reading the first part of this piece, it struck me, you are becoming a really great humorist, which is to say, like, just like, like a piece like A Christmas Story or the work of Garrison Keillor, there's this really careful, like, line that really talented humorists walk, where it's like, where you're really telling a story that's fundamentally, like, uplifting and heartwarming, but you also are aware of, like, how the audience is going to handle a story that seems too transparently uplifting or too transparently heartwarming or too transparently life affirming. So there's so many, every time you start to veer in that direction, you always have like a really clever observation or joke, or you find a way to undercut yourself and reveal your own, like, frailty as a narrator. And you always do it in such a wonderfully funny and disarming way. And it's really riveting to listen to, Keith. It really is. And that was just another great example of what's becoming this kind of wonderful sort of like heartwarming comic epic of a piece.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, Keith. So I think I'm going to read a piece, and then I think we're going to call it a night. So first of all, I have to apologize because I've read this piece a couple of times before. Even before Misery Loves Company, back in spring of 2020, there was a reading at the beginning of the pandemic. Expat Press hosted a Zoom reading series called The Plague Readings. I think what originally had happened is they had planned, Manny and Anthony and company had planned a few readings in New York City to promote Anthony's new book, Anthony, oh my God, his last name escapes me, but Anthony's new book,
Dragonetti.
Dragonetti, thank you, Arias. Anthony Dragonetti's new book, Confidence Man, had just come out, and I think they had planned a few readings in New York to promote that, and then New York locked the fuck down because of the pandemic. And so they did a Zoom reading series, and one of their first readings was held on Good Friday. And I read this little piece that I have inspired by like my religious upbringing and Catholic guilt and shit there. And then I read it again last year at Misery Loves Company. And so I figure I'm going to just keep reading this on Good Friday until I'm not here anymore, or Misery Loves Company isn't here anymore, or until people force me not to read it next year, maybe. So anyway, yeah, this is a piece that I wrote, and I'm sorry about the rambling introduction. I think I wrote it in 2016, and most of I wanted to write, I was in the process of doing this thing where I was trying to write a short piece every day because I can't write, because I can't make myself write most days. So my solution was I'm going to write a really short piece every day. So over the course of Holy Week that year, I wrote a series of pieces that are set, you know, on Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter Sunday. These are those pieces is what I'm fucking saying. Sorry. So this is called The Passion. Prologue. The man whose legion testifies. I used to live over there, beyond those hills, in the catacombs, and sleep on the soft earth of fresh graves. I used to throw myself on the ground and eat the dirt they buried the dead men in. And then I would go out into the town with my mouth full of dirt and scream and scream. I would scream nonsense. I would scream words that no man understood, that I myself did not understand, until the men of the village came and chased me back to the tombs with sticks. But now I only have one story that I can tell, the story of my deliverance. From today until the day I die, I must tell every man who I meet about how I was saved, because that's what he asked me to do. Go, he said, and tell them how much I have done for you. You will let me do nothing else. Even if I wanted to disobey, I could not, because my mind is sterile. I have not had an original thought since the spirits left me. Some nights I go out and swim in the water off the cliffs, in the same bay where the pigs threw themselves and drowned. And I will open my mouth underwater and swallow as much of the sea as I can. Where else could my demons have gone after all but into the water? I do not think they could have drowned. But it's no use. I'm sane now. My mind is quiet, and I would wish to die, but he has also given me the gift of eternal life. Okay, this next part, I need some volunteers from the crowd for this next part, because the first time I read this piece.
Well,
Yeah.
volunteer. Hi.
Okay, Eris, okay. So
Can I read too, William?
Okay, I need 6 volunteers. I've got Eris, I've got Gigi,
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
I've got Unity.
Can I read too?
Rudy.
I've got John.
Wait. My dad just came in here. I want him as a volunteer.
Oh man, yes. Okay, I yield to yours.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
How you doing?
Huh?
Hey.
Good evening, everybody. Fellow writer.
Hello, Mr. Harris.
How you doing, Mr.
Nice work.
So I hope I remember everyone here. So this next part is a goofy little skit or play. And the first time I read this at the plague readings, I just skipped this part because I didn't know how to read it. And last year I did all the parts myself and it felt awful. So this year I'm splitting it up. So Eris, you volunteered first. So you're James. Gigi is Simon Peter.
All right.
Unity, you're Philip. Rudy, you're Thomas. Who was after Rudy? John, you're Andrew.
Who's my dad?
Matthew.
John is Andrew. I'll take Matthew, and
All right.
and Eris's dad is Jesus. Okay. Perfect.
Wait,
So-
I'm Andrew or Matthew? Am
Shit.
I in this?
Gee.
My dad is my dad is Jesus, and I am.
Okay, we'll go through this
I'm
again.
Simon.
Everyone get your parts, okay? So,
Wait, is there a link?
yeah, oh shit, is it not in the chat?
No.
Yeah, it is. But you have. Oh, it's not in the chat.
I got it. Okay. Okay, here we go. So just to recoup, fuck, can I remember? Okay.
James is Eris.
Eris is James.
That's funny because my dad's name is James.
Eris is James. Who was Simon Peter? Who
Me.
Hmm?
Me.
Gigi, you're Simon Peter?
Yeah.
Okay, Gigi is Simon Peter. Unity was Philip.
Yeah.
Rudy was James, right?
No, I'm Thomas.
Rudy's Thomas. Who was James? John must be-
Eris.
Eris is James.
Oh, this is James was already. Jesus Christ, this is the best.
It's in the chat.
Eris is Eris's dad.
Is it the chat? Okay.
Yeah, people were putting it in the chat.
Oh, thank Christ. Okay. So everyone knows who everyone is then. Okay. And I've got Matthew, and John has Andrew, and Eris's dad is Jesus. Okay. All right. And I'll do the stage directions. Okay. Thursday, Gethsemane. A dry and uncomfortably warm spring evening in Jerusalem, soon after dusk. Following a cheap meal, Jesus and his disciples have gathered in a garden at the base of the Mount of Olives and intend to spend the night there. Jesus has taken Simon Peter aside and is speaking to him quietly alone. The other disciples are seated on the ground, watching the conversation. They say nothing to each other and are obviously straining to hear what is being said. But even in the stale, windless air, the words are too soft to reach their ears. Eventually, Jesus, visibly distressed, turns away and walks into the trees and out of sight, while Simon Peter throws his hands up in an exaggerated display of frustration and returns to the others.
What was that about? More prima donna bullshit?
He says I've rejected him or I'm going to reject him. Apparently I'm not loyal, not really. After all this fucking time, all these nights, sleeping on the ground, the lepers, the whores, that shit with the pigs. After all of it, now I'm not trustworthy. I watched him throw that hissy fit in the temple, make an ass of himself and all of us at the holiest of all holy places, and I didn't say a word. You saw me. There he was, ranting and raving in front of the priests, in front of the elders, in front of women, in front of children with that whip, that weapon in his hands, and I didn't even gasp. I didn't say, okay, buddy, calm down, you're making a scene. I didn't do what I should have done, what every ounce of my dignity and good sense was begging me to do, and say, you know what? Screw this, and just walk off then and there. No, I stood right by his side like a moron. And now, fuck me. I'm another traitor, I guess.
Yeah, another.
Several of the disciples laugh at this. Andrew spits on the ground.
Judas had the right idea. Just get up and walk off. Don't even say anything. He was so cool about it too, so collected. That bastard would have been really drinking his own blood if he had called me a traitor right there at the table in front of everyone.
What was all that about anyway? The cannibalism stuff, I mean.
Stop washing things. Please. Okay. Isn't it obvious? We're all parasites. We're literally eating him alive. Hungry ticks hanging off his immaculate body.
Literal fucking ticks. Fleas and bed bugs, every one of us.
While they speak, John lies down. He stares absently at the starless sky, oblivious to the conversation around him, and eventually falls asleep.
I don't know. I thought maybe he was threatening to kill himself. Wasn't what he said exactly, but the tone he used. There's something so, fatalistic about the whole thing. And now he's off crying somewhere. You saw his face a minute ago. He's unhinged. And he always seems so, not fragile, but insecure. Like he distrusts himself. Like even he is afraid of what we'll do next.
Manipulative, that's what he is. You don't threaten to kill yourself. You do it or you don't. When you talk about your own death that way, you're trying to get something out of someone. It's conniving. It's what you do when you want something, but you're too cowardly or weak to ask. And you know the other person won't give it willingly.
It's some real faggot shit is what it is.
Matthew has been listening silently but intently to this conversation. His expression, as usual, is serious but sadder than at dinner. When he does speak, he sounds weary, exhausted. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm a sucker. The humiliation of being a tax collector isn't exactly like they say. Nobody was spitting on me in the street. No one threw any stones. No, it's more like that sort of quiet condensation that follows you around. This subtle clucking in people's tones, the constant tisk, tisk, tisk that is never quite vocalized. You're not an outcast, but you're isolated. And when you feel that way, to have somebody approach you, to have someone choose you and outright say, come with me, it's vindicating, it's thrilling. But now I look back at that and think, could he see my vulnerability? Did he know how badly I needed to be wanted and take advantage of that? I wonder if that's at the heart of this con. I used to think I was a smart guy. I'm educated after all, sophisticated, worldly wise, not a fisherman or a daily bird, no offense. But maybe I've been taken for a fool, like I said, sucker.
Tool.
No, pussies. That's what we are. Because we're still here bitching like we always do. Just like last night, tomorrow morning we'll get up and follow him into some new fiasco. And tomorrow night we'll be sitting here or somewhere else on the bare, dirty ground again, bitching.
Maybe.
Oh God, here he comes.
The disciples quickly lay down and pretend that they're asleep. Enter Jesus, unkempt, his face stained with tears.
Here, Jesus.
Are you asleep? You couldn't stay awake with me for 1 hour? Get up, look.
Enter Judas, followed by a crowd. Oh my God, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyway,
Wait, that was so fun. That was amazing. That was.
So the next part, Friday, the good thief in paradise. I didn't know him before they strung him up next to me. I had never heard his name mentioned. I have no interest in politics or religion. Prophets and revolutionaries are born losers. They are caught in a vicious cycle. They think their bad luck is a result of their righteousness. that indifference is the same as persecution. So every time they get robbed, they take it as proof of character. When the house wins, they assume the game is rigged. Not that they are victims of their own poor judgment. And rather than become smarter players, they yearn to flip the tables over. Sometimes, if they can get enough sore losers together, they even do it. But ending the game will never be the same as winning it. And that was my first thought when they dropped that pole in the ground and we were face to face for the first time. I looked at him and I saw the congealed blood running from the thorns in his hair and smelled the vinegar on his breath. And I heard the centurions at our feet casting lots for his dirty shirt. And I thought, this man is a loser. The pain was so bad. I'm not a man with high pain tolerance, having spent my life taking judicious risks, or so I thought, and avoiding the unnecessary silly agony that more ambitious, less sensible men find in love and work. But in that moment, looking at the face of a man more fucked up than I was, the throbbing in my wrists and ankles left me, and the burning hell of slow asphyxiation relaxed long enough for me to appreciate a moment of wonder at this sucker and the undisguised, innocent torture in his eyes. Here was a man who never had a poker face. And that was very nearly the moment of my damnation. But then I heard the mob. They were jeering him, taunting him. If you are God, save yourself. If Elijah is really your pal, see if you can score a ride on his heavenly chariot, etc., etc. You've heard this part before. And it wasn't what they were saying as much as the unwavering confidence of their tone that gave me pause. They were so sure of themselves. His divinity was an impossibility. And that's the other great mistake of suckers. They think in terms of the possible and the impossible. Reality for them is concrete, it's real. But reality is a lie. Reality is a probability, a probably. Reality is odds. And sometimes, if your potential losses are small enough and the pot is rich enough, it pays to bet on a supposed impossibility. And hell, in that moment, what could I have lost that was not already being choked from me? The losers had their hands around my throat as it was. No, they had their arms down my throat. Their fingers were tickling the sacs of my lungs. So I looked at that sign above his head and I took every derisive, sarcastic word at face value. I turned to that battered, naive face and I looked in those eyes, the eyes of a patsy as much as of a prophet. And I said, "Forgive me, Lord, forgive me, save me," or something to that effect. And I won myself the key to the gates of heaven. Not only that, but I was the first one through the door. Not Moses, not Jeremiah, who suffered so much for his self-righteousness, not even Christ himself, who was off bailing some old Jewish saints out of hell, I guess, me. If you think I don't deserve to be here, if you think I didn't earn it, then I urge you to sit across from me at the table there and I'll deal. I see they give you a golden harp on the way in. I'll take it as collateral. Okay, this next one is Saturday. Pontius Pilate sleeps in. Pontius Pilate awoke. He had slept soundly the night before. His wife, who was still asleep beside him, had had no nightmares. He hadn't woken up to feel her gripping his wrist with both hands. He hadn't had to roll over on his side and kiss her forehead while she sobbed through tightly closed eyelids and gnashed her teeth. She didn't speak to him in gibberish words, not Latin, not Aramaic, while he held her face against his chest, nor had she spit or scratched, as she had on the worst night, Thursday, when all the unconscious tremors and the secret terrors of her disturbed sleep had finally climaxed in a fit of prolonged dry heaving that failed to bring up even one morsel of her dinner from that evening. No, she had not disturbed him at all. His own sleep had been dreamless, and he had no memory of having slept, but he felt calm and refreshed. Outside it rained lightly, a relief after a week that had been oppressively warm. Even when the clouds had finally come the afternoon before, they had brought only darkness with them and no hint of moisture. But now the morning air was cool. Although he had no real interest in Jewish traditions, he had become very fond of the Sabbath. It was a welcome escape from the mix of fanaticism, both religious and political, and banality that had come to dominate his working days. Every zealot was lighting candles. every Messiah was eating braided bread. The cycle of conflict and the anticipation of conflict, which many men seem to be slaves of, more so than of Rome, took a grudging break for 1 day out of 7. And this morning, he did not have to fear for the time when rigor and pragmatism would not be weapons enough to keep barbarism and worse, idealism at bay. This morning, he could sleep late and listen to the rain. He wondered how many millions of men throughout history had been comforted by the sound of morning rain. He knew he had heard it talked about, had read about moments like this before, many times before, had himself had this experience on many other mornings since childhood, maybe since infancy. Maybe all of humanity, every man had felt that waking calm, had been softened by the sound of falling water. He closed his eyes and saw all those men, thousands and thousands, lying on their backs. And all that rainwater and unending flood, settling in the Dead Sea, falling and evaporating, leaving only salt behind. And his peace was transformed into horror. He reached out and grabbed his wife's wrist, waking her. Okay, this is the last one. And this one's a poem, I guess. Sunday, Jesus rises from the dead. There is still pain in his hands, in his feet, in his side. The shroud is caked with dried blood and clings to his skin. He checks his wounds to see if he is still bleeding. He is. The tomb is open. Morning light enters where the rock once was, but standing is difficult. And all this after just 33 years, 1/3 of the trinity of a natural life. What a burden it will be to walk into that light and preach hope. In the field of clay, Judas hangs, desiccated and at rest. Okay, guys, that's it. I'm sorry, that felt like a long one.
Don't be sorry. That was such an honor.
So, so anyway, guys, thank you. I think that's it.
I just want to say, William, I just want to say, this is, what you read is part of Falling Man. And that's why this manuscript, this hybrid manuscript is so fucking awesome. Those are both excerpts from it, you know?
Yeah, no, thank you, Blake. I appreciate
great.
it.
It's really great.
No, thank you, Blake. Yeah, so anyway, I think we're going to end it there. As always, I'm going to leave this thing open. If people want to hang out afterward, we'll probably leave it open for an hour or so, or until my netbook dies again. Anyway, if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, and we have started posting these on YouTube again, we just posted a whole batch of them up on Monday. This has been Misery Loves Company. As I said at the top, we do this every week, Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We tweet out the link right before from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism. Anyone is welcome to come, anyone is welcome to read their work, and anyone is welcome to just come and lurk and listen. Okay, that's it. Rudy, you can kill this thing. Thank you, everyone. Oh, thank you to everyone who read tonight.